What do we think of the location? In this video, we're going to get you from beginner to pro in this many steps or minutes. I'm not quite sure yet. Let's see how the video goes. Either way, we're going to transform the way you see the world as a drone pilot with this incredibly powerful little drone. Right, what's the first thing we're going to do, folks? Let's get it all the way up in the air and see what things look like up in the sky. Well, of course, that's what we're going to do, isn't it? It's a drone, it's exciting. It's designed for looking at things in the air. Wow, looks amazing. Let's do a little tilt reveal in this direction. Okay, so we'll tilt up. Whoop, shot one, done, fantastic. But what I want you to understand as the first big tip to take away from this, I'm flying backwards at full speed there, 7.8 meters per second. You'd hardly know the drone was moving. It does look amazing, but over time things start to look a little bit samey when you're up in the air. Wow, though, look at this hazy, dreamy light. Look at those craggy rocks. In fairness, this does look pretty good, so it's not going to exactly emphasize my point, but over time, things do get a little bit samey up in the sky. So let's bring things down and see what we can get lower to the ground. Now, just to really emphasize this point, I've set up a much lower altitude shot here. I've got fantastic visual line of sight. I'm going to pull full back on the right stick, flying at maximum speed backwards. I can see the drone in front of me. Looking here at the controller, wow, look at the sense of motion already in that shot because we're lower to the ground. It's coming right towards us. I'm going to strike a pose now. I'm in the shot. I can see that it's not going to hit anything. The sense of speed is absolutely tremendous because we're lower to the ground. Yeah. Sometimes it's better to be in the scene than on top of the scene. And I think this shot really emphasizes that. Look at the rocks there on the top of this mountain. Absolutely unbelievable. We're only 200 meters away. I've got perfect visual line of sight, but we got so much out of that shot. Don't think of your drone as a drone. Think of it as a flying camera. A camera you can put anywhere. Now look at this. If we fly up a little bit here, we're going to reveal some of those layers on the other side of the hill where I'm standing. That gives us some depth. We have some midground and background here. Again, I'm not going to go too high because this is the perfect shot for a rotation to create a nice parallax effect. We can do that with the help of spotlight mode, so I'll drag a box onto the ground there. We have a nice big box at the moment, but what we want to do is just shuggle the camera a little bit, and that should eventually turn into a GPS point for us. About now, there we go, we have a nice GPS point, and I'm going to fly full speed to the side, to the right in this instance, and we get a nice panorama curve with the help of the intelligent flight mode spotlight here. It takes the yawing motion out of our hands, which is nice. A lot of beginners might think about panning in a situation like that. That's when you just simply yaw the camera, but that creates a tremendous amount of motion around the periphery of the frame. You don't tend to see that very much in TV and cinema. An arcing motion is much more familiar. Shot variety is incredibly important. I want you to get in close. So I'm going to super carefully get up there. No twisted ankles today, thank you very much. And we're going to use me as a subject. See, even in an environment like this where you're a solo adventurer, having yourself as a subject adds a focal point. It also adds a sense of scale to your work, so we get some kind of notion of how big this place is. Now, I think I'm going to leave it at that for now, because I'm doing many things at once. You don't want to watch me have an accident, I hope. So let's see, where am I? There I am in the shot. Nice, let's come in close. And I'm going to take advantage of the tracking there. Again, we'll just use spotlight in this instance, because that does a good job of holding me in the center. And I'm going to do a nice arcing rotation here at full speed. I'm going to keep an eye on things just for the start. Okay, there's nothing to crash into. Right, now I can hide the control at my side. How's that looking, folks? If you want to know what settings we're using, we've got manual settings here with an ND filter to make sure we've got nice motion blur. It's quite important for these high-speed maneuvers. We've got another video on that you can check out if you want. Next up, it's very important that you keep things simple. Some of the best aerial cinematography is the simplest. Yes, we can do mad circular motions, but we don't always have to. If you study aerial cinematography, which we do in our masterclass, you'll see that some of the best Hollywood shots with infinite budgets are the simplest. Wow, the sun just came out, thank you. So we'll use Spotlight again to do a beautiful little downward jib maneuver to reveal where I'm standing. Oh yes, kissed by the sun. Okay, strike a pose. What we're going to do is we're going to reverse this shot. We're going to begin with the end in mind. Another great tip. This is the end point of the shot. We're going to rise up the drone and then we're going to lower it in post. Gently up on the left stick. Quick question, have you downloaded our free ebook with 37 drone tips to get you flying like a filmmaker? Over 100,000 people have done so, so definitely grab a copy. And just in case you don't know, we have gorgeous premium courses as well. Links in the description. Coming back to the idea of thinking of this as a flying camera, when was the last time you did a slow motion shot with manual focus and shallow depth of field with a drone? Well, you can, and wait till you see this. So we'll set up our exposure here. I'm going to focus on this rock. The thing is telling me that focus is all the way over at me. I want a nice close focus next to that rock. Look at that, the rock is in focus, locked in focus. I'm slightly out of focus. And now I can set up a really stylish slow motion shot. Got to watch my feet here. I'm slightly out of focus. Imagine that, a slow motion shot with manual focus, shallow depth of field, with a drone, flying low. Not the first thing you think of. Get creative, change your mindset. It's a flying camera. It's not a drone. Nice. So we've talked a fair bit about the cinematography side of things, but what about the settings and the way you should set up your camera? Well, here we have a nice balanced exposure. That looks nice. If I turn the camera around, however, notice I said camera, not drone, because this is, at the end of the day, a flying camera. Righto, folks. What do we do in this situation? Look how dark I am, and look how bright the sky is. You can't have it all. You have to pick. And a classic sign you're a beginner is making the wrong choice. More often than not, we want to expose for the sky in our aerial work. You simply can't have it all. That bright sun there is creating a silhouette here. Now look, we'll try and expose for me by slowing the shutter down and trying to brighten what's on the ground there. I'll crank the ISO up, let's say. Okay, right. Now we've got a decent exposure on me. Looks okay, but the sky looks horrible. Big beginner no-no. Don't do this. Let's get the exposure back to where we want it. We've protected the highlights in the sky and we just work with it. We have a really cool, stylish, silhouetted shot. So we're going to do a nice shot, and like I say, just embrace that. I'm going to put it in cine mode, fly back very slowly. I'll be revealed now. I'm probably very close to rocks. Yes, but I knew I've got those prop guards, so we're okay. And we got that silhouetted shot. Now I'm shooting in the 10-bit D-Log M mode here. Let's pop it into 8-bit normal mode, because we do get a bit of help with the HDR that's on offer in the 8-bit. Let's see how that comes up. Now same shot, but this time with auto exposure settings in the normal color profile. And it's actually doing a really great job of trying to retain some of the detail in that sky and give us some detail in the shadows and something to work with. This is an 8-bit color profile, but we get some HDR in here thanks to the DCG, or the dual conversion technology on the sensor. It's not full 10-bit HLG HDR, but it still helps and it looks pretty good, I must admit. So what do you do if you want to rotate from a dark part of the image to a bright part of the image, or you want to, let's say, tilt up from a dark part of the image, like the ground here, into a bright part of the image? Well, you have to begin with the end in mind. What is the final composition? Is this nice big bright sky the final composition, or is the ground the final composition? And you need to make a judgment. I'm shooting now in a 10-bit color profile, D-Log-M. I've got a rough understanding of what I can achieve in post to bring back detail in these shadows, and I know to what extent the sky is going to look blown out in the final edit. So there I've done a halfway house. I've tried to get the best of all worlds. I'm going to do something a little bit more aggressive to try and preserve more detail in that sky and protect those highlights a little bit better. I'm going to crank the exposure up a little bit, knowing, looking at that histogram, that I've not crushed the shadows too much, but when I tilt up I'm going to get a better exposure on the sky, and I'll hopefully recover those shadows a little bit in post. Flying forwards gently, tilting up gently. More detail in the sky to work with. Ease out of that gimbal tilt. At the end of the day, sometimes the contrast in the image is just too much, and there's nothing you can do. The camera can't handle that amount of dynamic range. So the solution is to turn the camera around and point it the other way and enjoy a nice balanced exposure. But more often than not, thanks to the great cameras that we're getting on these drones nowadays, you can work around something with a little bit of practice. Since we're getting really creative, folks, when was the last time you used your drone as a handheld gimbal? Why would you do this? Well, not everyone owns multiple cameras, DJI Pocket 3s. Also, when you've run out of battery like I have here and you're not allowed to fly anymore, you can still take advantage of that extra juice for some handheld gimbal shots. I'm shooting on 50 frames per second. It helps take out any micro jitters if I slow the footage in post. We're doing a reveal here. Want to add some layers in our shot. All these principles we talk about in the aerial context come from traditional cinema at the end of the day. Now you're an expert in aerial cinematography and sophisticated shot creation. How do you protect your investment in the DJI Flip? Well, look around before you take off. It's very easy to crash into things. In this open wilderness, I managed to crash a drone a couple of years ago into literally the only signpost that's here for miles around. It was a spectacular achievement, so take from that what you will. This drone only has forward obstacle avoidance sensors, nothing helping you when you're going backwards or sideways. I like to fly backwards and then reverse the shots. That can be a problem with this drone. Intelligent flight modes, great though they are, they'll make this drone spin around and rotate and do all kinds of cool things that also increase the chance of collision. So you need to have your wits about you with this thing. It is robust and it's got these prop guards on it which have helped me out for sure. But nonetheless, you can break it if you really put your mind to it. So there you have it, folks, a decade of drone experience in less than 15 minutes. Get out there, create something special. Do check out our other videos for more advanced advice on how to get the most out of your drone, and we will see you in the next one.